All right, we are at the 2019 Lone Star Film Festival in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm here with Nick Frangione, one of our incoming directors coming down from LA. So
Yes.
thanks for joining us in
Thank
Fort
you.
Worth. So let's talk about your feature film, Buck Run. It didn't premiere here. You've already had your premiere
Right.
in Palm Springs. Yeah.
Palm Springs International,
Which is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that was
a great
fun.
festival to premiere at. How was that?
It was fantastic. It was wild. It's a beautiful festival.
Yeah.
Beautiful place. Yeah, we had a great time.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right, so where else, is this kind of the end of the festival circuit for you? Like, have you kind of made the rounds?
Yeah, this may be our last. Yeah, we've been all around the country, and this might be
Okay.
our last, which is the perfect place
Yeah.
to finish.
Yeah, a little more low-key. Welcome to Cowtown.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I haven't seen the cows yet, but I want to.
We'll give you directions to
Yeah,
the
please.
stockyards after this, a couple blocks that-ish way.
Right.
And we'll find some longhorns or something for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Okay, so folks that couldn't join us at any of the festivals, give them a little spoiler-free synopsis of Buck Run.
Yeah, it's a film about a 15-year-old boy in rural America who loses his mother to cancer, and he doesn't. There's the only place that the town can figure out where to send him is to his estranged father, who's a hunter, and he's a veteran, and he's basically squatting in his hunting cabin in the woods. So it's this boy that has to adjust to living with his father in a rural way that he's not used to.
Okay.
So he comes up against that, and it's a very personal film. It's really kind of about ultimately very similar to my relationship with my father.
Yeah, so where did this kind of start to germinate from? Where did the life of this story start?
Well, it was written by a guy who also grew up in small town Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And it just was very oddly similar. It was weird. It's very very kismet, and then it became much more like my life as the movie went along, as we were shooting it. Ultimately ended up being a way of expressing something, like a love letter to my dad, really, at the end of the day.
Has he been able to see it?
He did. He came to the premiere.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did he react?
He was just crying. We didn't talk about it. My brother was there and my dad was there, and he just kind of cried. In a good way.
Yeah.
Not in a sad way.
Oh my gosh.
It seemed like, I think ultimately it was a way of us accepting each other. I mean, I'm sure he always did because I was his son, but I think he got to see what I was feeling the whole time.
That's an awesome experience, like a thing for you guys to share.
Yeah.
And have that.
Yeah, because I never, until I made the movie, I never thought about what it would be like for him to lose his wife. I was only thinking about what it was like for me to lose my mom and what he did and didn't do during that time. And I was just angry at him. And I never thought about, this is a guy who lost the woman that he loved, that he was partners with. I can't even imagine what that would be. That's a whole other level of a different kind of pain. So we were both grieving.
Absolutely.
And he had to take care of me.
I was going to say, he had a specific huge job to do at the same time.
Yeah, and didn't necessarily know how to do that. And I blamed him for that, for not knowing how to do that. But I also, how could I blame him for something like that?
I'm really happy for your family that, this is a weird compliment to give, that, no, but you guys have been able to own that and kind of step through that together, because so many families never get to that place of resolution and peace and everything. So good on you, man. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, if we can accept our, because parents are flawed, we're all flawed.
Absolutely.
And we get to accept them.
So tell me about the town where you shot this. I mean, you say you're from rural Pennsylvania. Was this your hometown?
Yeah, we shot in my hometown. We shot
man.
in my hometown and the towns around my hometown.
Okay, all right. So what did they feel about having a film crew running around?
They were defensive at first. The first time we got into the town, they were a little concerned because it's like an LA crew.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah, like a bunch of LA crew and New York crew and European people. We all came in smoking cigarettes and it was just weird. And they were defensive. But then we embedded ourselves. Then they were the most wonderful people, and we ended up shooting. We shot in my old high school. The mother's house in the film, we drove up and we just saw these people in their driveway, and we got out, and you know, like especially with tension, the way the tension is in America right now, we would think we couldn't speak to them.
Yeah.
But we started talking, and then we were shooting in their house, and they were the best people, some of the best people we've ever met.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like, I had wondered really how the small towns responded to you. I'm sure it helped that, like, you know, you're a hometown guy and everything. Yeah. But, you know, I'm from a rural town too, rural Texas, and a couple of TV shows have shot there just because we happen to have a train depot, and not a lot of small towns do anymore. But when an established TV show comes in, everybody's like, oh, okay, this is cool. But if it's some other type of art, you know, especially film, everybody's kind of...
Right. What are you saying?
Who are you? Who are you? You know, are you for real or are you not for real? You know, and how are you going to make us look? Yeah. You know, so I really wonder how much that really played into their thought process.
Yeah, and well, now the cool thing is we've gotten to take it to rural places. And they get to see it, and they're so. I wanted to be as authentic as possible without taking any kind of side on something, and that's what we accomplished because it's been the rural audience has really enjoyed it and been moved by it.
Well, there's a lot of really gorgeous like outdoor shots there, you know, with nature, and also you guys always manage to get this this gray cast over everything, you know what I mean? Like,
that's how it looks there for a few months.
For sure, part of it is definitely the weather-worn buildings, like I get you, but I was like, oh man, what a great look. Like, consistent great look. So you didn't, I mean, it just really looks like that. You didn't have to.
Well, we have an amazing Anna Solano. She's an incredible DP. She just shot The Farewell. She just is amazing. So
Lady DP.
Yeah, she's the best.
They are getting more and more prominent.
Yes.
My surprise is not real surprise. It's just a commendation to you, Miss DP, whoever you are, wherever you are.
Yeah, she's amazing. And so I think some of that is definitely is how it looks, but I think we also embedded that a little bit in what we did.
Okay, so I have to
the color correction.
Yeah, I was not planning to ask you this, but it's come up in a couple of interviews the past few years, talking about differences between having a woman behind a camera, which is not as common. It's becoming more common, right? But it's kind of new versus having a man behind the camera, and kind of the vibe that comes off, and like some of the sensitivity that kind of comes through the lens. There's just a little bit of a difference. I feel like. I mean, do you get that as a director?
100%. Yes, there was a depth, like an emotional depth that she had, that she understood about. I mean, mostly what we talked about when we would set up the shots is what was going on emotionally in the scene, and then she would just understand something. Like she'd have the emotional depth that she has is insane, and she's able to put that into shots, you know, into the camera work. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. Yes, that's definitely the case.
Yeah, and I almost hesitated to ask that because, you know, just with the subject matter of your film, I'm kind of like, well, I don't want to pigeonhole, like, if it's an emotional movie, it has to be a woman to shoot it.
No, I don't know.
You know, like, don't want to do that, but it's just an interesting parallel about, you know, between... What am I looking for? I get excited about a topic and then I just like.
Well, it could be like uber. It could be like uber masculine. You could have that kind of like it didn't have that you know, it didn't have that kind of punch feeling all the time in the shots. It had a it wasn't because it's a movie that could come out being rough, but the combination of myself and Anna had it be exactly what it was that I wanted it to be, which is sensitive. So you're taking on something that could seem like uber masculine, with it being about a father and a son, and having a totally different perspective on it than maybe what's been seen before.
Well, let's talk about that father and son. Tell me about your lead actors.
Oh, Nolan. Nolan's the best. Because I did want the boy to be super sensitive, and that's just how Nolan is. And I don't know how he has the kind of depth that he has. He just came in. He was the first audition out of like 2,000 auditions. We didn't watch. We didn't watch any other ones. But he just was so good. He ruined it for everybody.
Like ironic with like you want an actor to portray like the deepest sensitivity on screen, but if you're going to live the life of a professional actor, you're just like, you better have a shell, man. You better not be sensitive about anything.
Yeah, he's totally. Yeah, it's true, and he's totally open, and that's what's so amazing. I mean, also he's also just an incredible actor with a lot of craft and professionalism, but that depth that he has, yeah. And I think that that's true. You know, like leading men, it's a different kind of leading man. That's what he has the potential to be, and that's what he was in this. It was a different sort of, because we did have some, you know, there was some people that were pushed, that were suggested to us, some other actors for the role that were like kind of tough looking, you know, that kind of typical thing.
Yeah, a little more rough.
Whereas Nolan was very, he's going to be so embarrassed. He was very angelic. Yeah, he has a different kind of toughness.
He has a different look.
Yes.
Different look.
Yes, and a different way of approaching things.
It's awesome, though, that there's opportunities for leading men like that. Now, like, as soon as you said, like, different kind of leading man, I thought of Adam Driver.
Yes, exactly.
Who's, like, plays these incredible, like, very emotional, difficult roles, and then the next day he's like, gotta go shoot Star Wars,
right? But he brings that complexity to it. That's what the same thing. Nolan has that quality of bringing a kind of emotional complexity to something, where we don't, you know, like leading men don't have to be that way anymore. Yes, Adam Driver's amazing.
I love
in the same way. Yes,
and a different look, like we said, not the classic. Quarterback.
No, and it makes it more complicated for you to deal with that character because he's not two-dimensional. He's completely three-dimensional. Yeah.
Well, tell me about the rest of your cast as well. You know, your leading guy is kind of isolated emotionally.
Oh, James. Yeah.
In this, so how did you kind of build that vibe between your supporting cast and your leaders?
Well, James was he stayed in, he was in character the whole time. So I didn't even meet. I met like my father when he came on set.
Wow.
We'd spoken over the phone, and then the first time I met him, we were shooting a scene in the house, and they were like, we have to move forward and shoot this scene. He was outside, so I only heard his voice before I could meet him in person. And I remember hearing his voice do the lines, and I was like, oh, it's like my father. And my father was somebody who was very sensitive, but it was repressed. So, and James brought that. He had repressed his sensitivity in a way that was just phenomenal. And he stayed in that the whole time. So him and Nolan were like, they were like father and son in reality.
That's
so
awesome.
And he brought that level of commitment to the set that everybody was just rising to that, to James.
Well, I do want to ask you, like, when you're dealing with a story, you know, either as a director or as a writer, you mentioned your screenwriter, you guys ended up having like tons of stuff in common. When you're dealing with something that is so personal to you, or an issue that's so prevalent, you know, and that cuts so deep, how do you kind of keep yourself and your cast, keep yourself safe emotionally, that you're like, okay, we want to go there, but at the same time, let's not go so method that we're like having to medicate after this. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, I definitely had a hard time. I think Nolan's just so professional that he was okay, and James is just a veteran. He's been doing it for so long, and he just knows how to do that. So I don't know how he handles that, going into that kind of stuff, and maintains it without being hurt by it, but he does. He's an artist. But I had a hard time. It was very cathartic. The making of the movie was very cathartic.
That's good.
And I had to come up against myself a lot. Yeah, I
remember reading this book. It's the only analogy that I can think of, and it's a gruesome one, so sorry.
That's all right.
But I remember reading this book about a female painter during the Renaissance, which is extremely unusual in that time period. Right. And she cuts herself, but she is... and it gets on her paint canvas, but she's drawing a violent scene. She's drawing a murder, and she likes the effect of the blood on the canvas so well that she won't let the wound heal. She keeps digging it out so that she can paint with her blood and get this really vivid, amazing look. And that's what I kind of compare a lot of actors and writers to, that I'm kind of like, dude, you got to take care of yourself. Like,
I didn't
keep tearing this open. I'm worried about you. Okay, so
I wouldn't do that again in the same way. I didn't realize you don't realize what you're making the movie about when you start. At least I didn't. And so in now making the next one, I'll know that I'm up against that process, and I won't go so crazy about it.
Well, something already in the works?
Yes, there's a few things. Yeah. The one in particular that we're trying to do next is a film about a long-haul trucker and his wife.
Oh, wow.
And so it's similarly kind of dealing with blue-collar America in a way. Are you going to
shoot in a truck? That's going to be challenging.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, in a long-haul truck, yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, so it's him and his wife and their son, he gets waylaid, and their son, he's trying to take care of his son, and he gets kidnapped by a predator.
Oh, wow.
And so they're in this crisis, and it's really about this couple dealing with that crisis of losing their son. And he's addicted to the road, and he doesn't know how to be at home.
Sure.
So it's a love story, ultimately. It's a love story.
I love that. All right, so what's the next step for Buck Run?
Just both probably a limited theatrical release and streaming. Yeah, that would be the next thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we go, where can people? Not everybody can join us at the festival.
Right.
So where can they learn more about you and keep an eye out for the movie so that they can catch it?
Yeah, you can go to. I have a website, nickfrangione.com, or on Instagram, Nick Frangione on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you for coming to Fort Worth. We hope to see you in Texas again.
Yeah, I love Texas. This has been fantastic.
Well, I will tell you one thing. All of the Texas cities are completely different creatures.
It seems that way, yeah.
You have to collect them all.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make more trips to Texas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And appreciate you taking some time with us.
Me too. Thank you for this.
Fort Worth.
I will.